To sew on buttons with the Opal 690, you have a built-in stitch in row 1, stitch number 33. So row 1, stitch number 33, okay. Now notice first off that it has a big X where the foot is. That means take the foot off. The next picture shows that the multi-purpose tool can be used. I don't always use it. If I need a button just sewn on decoratively, I do not use it. That creates the extra shank of thread for when you actually have a garment or something that's buttoning to it. The extra shank of thread allows for that second layer of fabric to have a place to sit underneath the button. So I'm going to show you first without it. And yes, we do it without a foot. Now you'll notice with these different buttons, they look like they might have different size openings, but they're actually all about the same. Now not all buttons, but a good like 98% of buttons have the same zigzag width. Then that is set up or starts at 4 millimeters wide. This little indication here ends up being 8 times, which you can change. That means it's going to go into the holes 8 times back and forth. You can make that up to 10, 12, more or less, whichever you'd want to do. But try it at 8. See how you like it. Also, too, I do like to lower the feed dogs here. So, that's what that picture is. So we're going to go ahead and turn it to the minus sign. Feed dogs are dropped. Even though the stitch length goes to 0, means they're not going to move it through, those teeth are not then touching the underneath part of the button and maybe offsetting a little bit. So here's how you're going to do it. This one little trick, let's see here, I set up the fabric for heavy woven, so it has the size 90 needle, little stabilizer. We'll just do woven medium, see if that changes much at all. Just the needle size, but it always wants to have something underneath that fabric, hence the little stabilizer picture. So this is how you're going to do it. Notice the needle is leaning over on the left side, so I take in hand, turn my needle down into the left needle left hole of the button, then manually lower the presser foot. Without that needle in there, sometimes when that foot comes down, it like wants to sing the button somewhere else. Now, I still need to check the swing, make sure that 4 millimeters is enough to get me all the way to the other side. And on this button it is. So now once I've tested both needle swings, I can go back and forth. It will lock at the end and stop. And you can use the selective thread cutter to cut. It knows to pick a hole, not just do it in the center as we go. So that's how easy it is. A little fray check on the top of that would make those stitches never come loose off your project. So what if we want to do this with a shank of thread? This is where using, remember you have 2 thicknesses here, a thinner side and a thicker side. The thinner side is probably going to be just enough unless you had a really, really thick button or you're putting it on a really thick piece of fabric. Now, to kind of get this set up, you're going to need to set that there. And again, once set the needle to come down into the left needle hole. Now, right now, my eyes of the button are not parallel, so I'm going to just slide that so they are. Lower down the presser foot. Okay, and then test the swing of the needle. Make sure it goes and jumps to the other side. There we go. And then go ahead and stitch. As long as nothing has moved, everything will just stay right where it needs to be. Perfect. If you feel like that wasn't enough stitches, you could just even stitch again. There we go. And selective thread cutter. Now watch what we have. We have a piece of extra length of thread. You can almost peek inside there. That has given us a little bit more area for something to slip underneath, button to it. So that's how you do it. Now, if you have a button with 4 holes, sometimes, especially the smaller ones, I'll actually start and do the forward 2 button areas first. Then, because sometimes there's not enough room for the foot to sit back here, maybe this button actually has kind of a lip to it. It's going to slide right off of it. So sometimes coming in forward, doing those front 2, then sliding back, there's some threads holding it so it doesn't slip away. And also, too, if necessary, you could even turn it around and also do the last 2, which will then be more in the forward position, giving more of that ankle a place for it to sit on the button. So, awesome stitch. Just remember, bring your feed dogs back up. And so we'll slide that back to the other side here to the left. Feed dogs do not come back up until you have taken a stitch. So if you want to see them actually come up, you can hold the thread, put fabric underneath. Even I can just do that real quick, and I can see those teeth come right on up, and we're ready to sew.